Hello, I'm going to do a quick overview of a lesson plan that I created about Spanish poetry. So this is what the lesson plan is going to look like. So this lesson is an introduction to Spanish poetry. It is for 10th grade or Spanish 3. It's going to take about 2 hours to complete, and in general, a summary of this lesson is that students will be completing various activities to learn a new vocabulary list, and they will be learning about poetry by reading Pablo Neruda's Poema Vente, and also doing group work to create a Google Slides presentation about a different poem. Now I'm going to skip ahead to the learning objectives. Number 1, students will analyze the context and themes of a Spanish poem. And number 2, students will apply their knowledge of new Spanish literary vocabulary in their creation of a Google Slides presentation. So the resources that students will need for this activity are notebook paper, a pencil, and a pen, and they will also need printed or electronic copies of the poems and activities in this lesson, which have been provided at the bottom of this lesson plan. And also there are a few online resources that they will need to go to, and this can be done using computers, so either a laptop cart or a computer lab. I've broken this lesson into 2 days with some suggested times. So the first thing you're going to do is give the students a vocabulary list, and then you will read the word aloud in Spanish and the students will repeat it to work on their pronunciation. And then secondly, the students will use this vocabulary list and they will write sentences using 5 of the words. Here is just a little preview of what the poetry vocabulary list looks like. So when you're doing the part where you say the word and the students repeat after you, it would go something like this. You would say la poesía, and then all the students in unison would respond with la poesía, and you would just go down the entire list just like that. For step 3, we're going to give the students a copy of Poema Vente, and we will let them work in groups. So it will be about groups of 4, and what they're going to do now is they're going to watch a YouTube video, read through the poem, make notes about it, look up any unknown words, and together they will discuss all of the possible themes. This will probably take about 20 minutes. Here's what the YouTube video looks like, and I like this video because the same time that the poem is being recited, the words are going across the screen, so I think this makes it a little bit easier for the students to understand what's going on. After this, there will probably words that the students still do not know or understand, so in this case they can go to wordreference.com, which is just a basic English to Spanish or Spanish to English translator, and it is very accurate. Afterwards, to make sure that the students are understanding the poem, we're just going to have a quick class discussion using this Google Slides presentation with 3 critical thinking questions. So this is a very basic Google Slides presentation, and it has questions in Spanish and then the English translation at the bottom, and it's really just to get the students to think critically about these poems and understand that poetry is a very abstract concept with many different answers. After the class discussion, students will begin the project part of this assignment, and what they will do is they will either choose a Spanish poem at random or you can randomly assign it to them, and they will work in a group of 4 to create a presentation using Google Slides, which is a collaborative way where they can all work on basically a PowerPoint at the same time. So there will be a rubric that the students will have to tell them exactly what they need to do to get the full points, but basically what they need to do is provide the poem, read it out loud to the class, provide information about the poet, historical, social, economic context, and the place where the poem is from, the themes, and they need to correctly use new vocabulary. And then they will be given the rest of class time to work on this, and obviously it's a long project, so they can take it home and work on it as a homework assignment, but more time will be given on day 2 to complete the assignment and wrap up some loose ends. Next, we're going to start day 2 with a real quick refresher activity. It will just be 10 questions about the vocabulary list from the previous day, and it will be matching the Spanish vocabulary with the English equivalents. Next, the teacher will give the students about 20 minutes to finish up their presentation, and during this time they can finish creating it or they can practice it, and basically what needs to get done here is that the students need to write on a piece of paper a little list of the things that they specifically contributed to the assignment to make sure that the work was divided equally, and they also have to send the link to the presentation to the teacher. Then lastly, for the rest of class, students will just be giving their presentations. It will be a 5 to 7 minute presentation, And like it says in the rubric, students will be graded on whether or not they're making eye contact, how clearly they're speaking, if they're speaking in Spanish, and if the presentation actually is 5 to 7 minutes. And while the other students are watching these presentations, they should be taking notes. That's the entire lesson plan. So now just to go over what will be graded, there will be 5 points for the sentences that they write based on the vocabulary list, and then next there will be 10 points based on the matching, and then 25 points will go to the presentation, both the content and the actual performance of the presentation, which will be graded on the rubric that has been provided during this lesson. That's the entire lesson plan, so thank you for watching, and I hope that you can use this video to help you implement a lesson about Spanish poetry.